Japan's Nippon Steel this week secured a deal to acquire U.S. Steel for a little more than $14 billion in a controversial arrangement that has roiled lawmakers. Several American companies pursued the purchase, but the board of directors deemed Nippon's offer superior. Pennsylvania's senators have come out against the deal. John Fetterman called the deal, quote, absolutely outrageous, and says he will work to block it. Jon Delano joins me now. He is the money and politics editor for our CBS News Pittsburgh affiliate. John, tell us about the history here of U.S. Steel and what role it played in the community.
Yeah, it's good to be with you, John. No question about it. U.S. Steel has been iconically identified with the city of Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania since 1901, when Andrew Carnegie, at the behest of J.P. Morgan, merged his company with another to form the giant U.S. Steel Corporation. U.S. Steel in the early days of the 1900s really supplied most of the steel across America. The vast majority was from U.S. Steel. But over the years, the company has declined in terms of being one of the largest corporations. At one time, it was America's largest corporation and employed, if you can believe, some 350,000 people at one time. All of that has changed in recent decades with the decline of the steel industry in general in the 1980s and, of course, in more recent years. So very much identified, though, with really class steel making.
Sure, and a story of a huge section of America and a way of American life. So in the wake of this deal, what concerns are you hearing about this specific deal itself?
Well, there are a number of concerns that have been raised, primarily by both politicians, you mentioned Senator Fetterman, Senator McCasey, and others, but also by the United Steelworkers. I interviewed the president of that union yesterday, and it's very clear that they're in sync with the elected officials. So what are the major objections? One, Nippon Steel is Japanese-owned. It's foreign-owned. And that raises lots of questions with respect to national security issues. Steel is an essential product for American defense. It's in, everything from tanks to missiles, you name it, steel is there. And if America loses its capacity to produce its own steel and it really becomes beholden to foreigners, there's a lot of concern about that. Today, this Senator Fetterman, Senator Casey, and Congressman Chris DeLuzio from the Pittsburgh area sent a letter to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, basically saying, hey, Madam Secretary, your Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States needs to take a very close look at this to see whether this passes muster. So that's one issue. The other issue that the union cares about very much is the sanctity of pensions and of retiree benefits, health benefits. John, can you imagine how can the United States guarantee that workers in the future will get these benefits through Japan? What can they hold over Japan? So there's lots of issues there that are going to come to the courts, I believe, in the near future.
John, just on that last point before I let you go, linger for a minute on the role of unions. Again, we're talking about, you've already set the stage with the company and the role it played in the community there. But what does this mean specifically for unions, again, when we think about the history and the story and the social compact that used to exist between U.S. Steel and the people of that region of the country?
Well, there's no question that the unions and the United Steelworkers have always had a very strong relationship, particularly with basic steel, that is to say, blast furnaces and the like. And the unionization of that industry has really been important. And it's really provided the kinds of jobs that you can support a family on. Folks as old as me, actually, I paid for half my college education by working in the steel mills during the summers. That was kind of the American way. And so there's a lot of angst over what's happening here and how you preserve the rights of workers to the benefits that have been bargained for when the ownership of the company passes from Pittsburgh to Tokyo.
Right. Jon Delano, what a pleasure it has been to talk to you tonight. Thank you, John. With our
Always good to be with you, John. Thank you.
With CBS News Pittsburgh. Thank you, John.